All right, so today I'm going to continue with my board games playlist, which is Monopoly, and I'm going to add a user interface to show my properties that I own. Because these last videos, I was adding properties, I was buying them. So at the end of video 12, if you haven't followed along, I made that game copyable. You can come over here, I'll put this link in the description, hit these three dots, hit edit, and then you'll get a copy of this game and you can follow along. I've already brought the game up. There we go. And let's get started. So we want a UI, a user interface that shows the properties that we buy. Let's go to Starter GUI, Screen GUI, or GUI like I like to say, Screen GUI, and let's add a button, right? So we have a text button, and I'm going to call this button My Stuff Button. Cool. Drag it on down here. Should we change the scale and stuff like that? Let's make the color. There's background color 3. Let's change that to like pink or something. I don't know. I'm terrible at picking colors. And you pick your own color. Let's see. For size, I think I'll make everything scale. So I'll do 0.10, 0.10 for size. That's 10% of the X and the Y. And position, I didn't anchor it. Let's just go ahead and, there we go. That's good enough for position. Let's see. Make it bangers for the font, and we'll say text, we'll say my stuff. Cool. We got to make that text bigger. I'll just go ahead, text color, since I see it, let's do text color. There's green. Now let's make the text bigger. There it is, text scaled. Cool. That's not bad. Oh, and let's add text stroke transparency. Let's make text stroke transparency 0, so it makes a little outline. Now that doesn't really fit very well for my text. Bangers is kind of funny that way. I'm just going to make that a little smaller. Maybe stretch it out this way a little bit. That's pretty good. All right, so when I hit this button, I want a frame to come up that's going to show all of my properties. Let's go ahead and make that frame. Let's go to our Screen GUI, hit the plus, and I'm going to do a scrolling frame because I might have a lot of properties. I might want to scroll. Cool, here's my scrolling frame. I'm going to call this My Stuff Frame. See if I got it spelled right. That's close enough. My Stuff Frame. FRM, I use that as a notation. I don't spell it the whole word. All right, here's a color. Let's go ahead and change that to match our button. There we go. I'm not going to change the transparency. Some people like to because they like to see through it. Let's see, position. Well, if we're going to do position, let's go ahead and change our anchor point to 0.5 and 0.5. That puts the anchor point in the center of the component. That's going to make it easier to center on my screen. So if I go to position, 0.5 on the X, 0 pixel offset on the X, 0.5 on the Y, 0 pixel offset on the Y. Boom, it's centered. All right, size, I think it's like 0.4 will be good. That's 40% of the X, 0 pixel offset. 0.4, if I can get the point, and 0 pixel offset. That's not bad. That's not bad. All right, cool. Now I want to add little tiles to this with the properties that I own. I want to add it programmatically. So I need some mechanism to organize it. Let's go to this plus sign on My Stuff Frame. And then let's get a UI grid layout, right? That's pretty cool. It controls the size of the component and the placement. So if we add a frame, there it is. Right? If we do a couple of these, let's duplicate them. Control D, 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 D. See, it's adding it. We don't have to do any positioning and stuff. It's pretty cool. But I am going to mess with this a little bit. This is absolute pixels. I'm going to change that. So go to your UI grid layout because that affects the size of the components. We'll go to cell size. I think I'll make that 0.24. So 0.25 would be 25% of this width. All right, but I want a little bit of space in between. So 0.24, comma, 0 pixel offset. This one's going to be weird. I'm going to make this 0.08. I had to play with that. And then 0. Why is that number so small? Well, the Y is not the Y from top to bottom here. It's the Y of the canvas. And the canvas, the scrolling canvas, by default is 2 times the size of the parent object, which is the Screen GUI. So I had to make it really small. All right, that's good though. I think we're set. What else do I got to do? Oh, let's take a look at our fourth element right here. Oh, look at that. It's bleeding into my bar. So let's go to our grid UI grid layout again. Maybe change the cell padding to just 3 pixels on the X and the Y. There we go. We still, I think, have a little bleed there. I'm going to make this bar slightly thinner. I'm going to cheat a little bit. All right, so I'm going to go to my stuff frame, which is a scrolling frame, and you can change the bar thickness if I can find it. There it is. Scroll bar thickness, it's 12. I'm going to make it 10. Look at that. Sweet. Oh, the wrong one. There. Sweet. That's a little bit. I don't know. That's pretty good. I like that. That's good. That's good. All right. I'm going to get rid of these other frames. We're going to add those programmatically. We're going to add all of the frames programmatically, actually. But I'm going to leave one so I can decorate it. And then we'll clone that when we buy a property. Let's call this frame property frame, right? Not very complicated. I'm going to add a UI list layout, right? Just to save me some time so I don't have to line up my little text labels. Is going to have my info on there. All right, so UI list layout defaults to listing things vertically, so we're good. Let's add a text label, right? That's going to be the name. Unfortunately, UI list layout doesn't change the size for you. You have to do that yourself. All right, so let's go ahead and do some stuff with our text label. Background transparency, I'm going to make that 1 because I'm going to change the whole frame to the color of my property. So I want to be able to see through that. Oh, you know what? I did that on my property frame. Control Z. I want to do that on my text label. Let's see. 1. There we go. That's better. Good. And what else I got to do? I have to change the size. Make that 1, 0, so 100% of the X, and then should we do 4? Let's do 4 rows. We can add them if we need to. So 0.25, that's 25% of the Y, 0 pixel offset. That's pretty good. We might have to do some cleanup at the end of all of this. So font, of course, I'll make that bangers. I don't know how much space I'm going to need for my font. I know those titles can get big. So for text scaled, I'll just go ahead and click that. I think the text color, I'm going to keep it black until I find something I like. I think I'm good. We got to change the name of this though. Let's change this text label to title LBL, right? Let's duplicate it, Control D, and then let's make this one. We need the rent number, right? So I'll call that rent LBL for rent label. Now we need some sort of indicator for how many houses we have and the mortgage, right? Or if we have railroads, we're going to have to know how many railroads we have. I guess we don't really need to. Maybe I should just do the price of, now let's do that. Let's make a Control D, and then this one right here, I'm going to do number of houses label. And then for like railroad and electric, we'll change the text inside there appropriately, but not today. All right, what else do I need? Oh, mortgage. Let's do another one. Control D to duplicate again. And this one is going to be the mortgage value. Mort LBL. All right, now that is fine. We're going to change all the text with code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my property frame. I'm going to move it up to replicated storage because we need to update the player GUI, not the starter GUI when you buy property, because the player's already playing, right? It's not going to affect them when they start the game. Let's see what else. Let's go ahead and put an open and close for this button. And then on my scroll frame, since I'm here, I'll make this invisible because when we start, we don't want to see our properties because we won't have any. Where's my visible? If you can't find something, just go ahead and up in this bar type VIS. There we go. Visible, uncheck. Cool beans. I should do that more often. All right, and then on my stuff button, let's get a local script to do open and close. We'll say it. Open, close. That'll be good enough. And what we got? We'll do a local open button. It's actually the open close button, but we'll just call it open button in our script. Script.parent. And then we need my stuff frame, and then we'll go open button. That's the parent of the script. Parent of that is the screen GUI, and then we have my stuff frame. Cool, that's how we get my stuff. Then we'll get our open button dot activated, connect that to an anonymous function that's just going to get the my stuff frame visible property and make it whatever it wasn't. So I'm going to say now it is equal to not my stuff frame dot visible. So if it was visible, it's no longer visible, and vice versa. We could go ahead and try that out. Make sure we don't have any errors early on. Hit the view output. Everything's going to be tiny because of this. Let's make the text bigger. My stuff. Cool beans. And since we scaled it, there we go. We don't have to worry about squishing it. Well, we will squish the window, but we don't have to worry about losing it down to the bottom or something. Cool beans. All right. Let's keep going. All right. Now, the real code, right? The real code. We're going to go to board utils. Board utils is in, if you go to workspace, go to game board. Board utils is right here. It's a module script that does a whole bunch of stuff, all the utilities for our game. And what I need to do is I need to get, see this create board, it has all my tiles with all my properties. I need to make a little sub table of these properties that I own. We have a property in here called owner right there, right? Owner. That's what we're going to check. Let's go down and we're going to make a function that checks for the owner. I'm going to put it right above land on tile action. I think that's a good place to put it. So let's get a function. We're going to prepend with board utils. We're going to call this from the game manager. Board utils. I'm going to say, what am I going to call it? I'm going to call it get properties owned. Get, should I call it that? Yeah. Get properties owned. And then pass in the player that you want the properties for. Here's our little table that we're going to put our subset of our properties. I'm going to call this props. Props table. And it's going to be empty when we start out. Now we're going to do a loop. For I and v in pairs, we are going to loop through our board map. Right? That big old array I showed you. And as we're playing and we're buying stuff, we're going to set the owner in that board map to our player if they own it. So first we have to check to see V is going to be the tile, right? This number, this is going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then V is going to be the tile. It's going to have all that information, like who owns it and stuff. So V owner, we got to make sure it exists. And V.owner dot name equals player.name. Ooh, then we own it. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this table and we're going to insert it. Right? Well, I say prop table. We're going to insert it into prop table. V, that's what we're going to insert. So that's the table and that's the value we're inserting. All righty. Oh, we got to return it. Don't forget to return it. I'm so glad I didn't forget that. And then get an error at the end of the video. Return props table. Cool. That's all we got to do in board utils. Let's go over, let's close board game, go down to server script service where our game manager is. Let's open that up and we're going to put some code in there. All right. Luckily we got our replicated storage so we can get our prop frame, and I think we're good here. Let's just go at the bottom of where we do our declarations and above all of our other functions. Let's make a function, a local function called update player stuff UI. And then we'll pass in the player. That's who we want to update it for. All right, and I'll say, I got to get the player GUI, right? So I'll say player GUI equals player : wait for, oh, I hate when it doesn't give me my auto complete. Wait for child player GUI. right? Did I get everything right? Because it didn't give me autocomplete. Player, colon, wait for child, player, GUI. All right, I think that's good. I hate when I get an error. All right, we'll have screen GUI. We're going to get that from the player GUI, colon, wait for child, screen GUI, and then we have our My Stuff frame over here that's going to be on the screen GUI, right? So the starter GUI gets cloned to the player GUI, so it's going to mimic everything underneath starter GUI, right? So we want our My Stuff frame, right? We'll say screen GUI, there it is, colon, wait for child, My Stuff frame, My Stuff frame. Make sure you spell that right. You'll get an infinite yield error, right? Because we're doing a wait for child if you don't have, if you can't find it. All right, what else? All right, when we open up our UI for our properties, or when we put something on there, I should say, let's delete all of the old ones and then reorder it so that it's in a logical order, so we don't get too confused when we're looking for our properties, right? Because I'm not going to have you dragging it around and stuff. That's a little too complicated. So let's remove all the properties that we already own first. So I'm going to say for I and V in pairs, I'll do My Stuff frame and then get children. Children. See if I got that spelled right. Do. All right, now remember we have that UI grid layout thing in there, so we have to do another if statement. If V is a frame, then we will go ahead and destroy V. Destroy. Cool. And now let's do another for loop. I'll just go up one a little bit there. For I and V in pairs, right? Now what we want to do is we want to go through our table, right? We don't have our table yet. Let's do that. Let's get our table from our board utils. Say local, what am I going to call that? Stuff table maybe? Stuff table, board utils. Remember we did that get properties owned. Oh, and we got the player, right? Because we're going to send in the player for here. Cool, we got that. Oh, and while we're there, let's also get a reference to our prop UI frame, right? It is in replicated storage. There it is. I apologize for jumping up there. I just got down here and realized I had no table. Cool, so now I have a stuff table, and we don't have to get children because it's already a table. Do. All right. We need a new UI frame for each thing in our stuff table. We'll say property UI frame clone, right? We're going to use that property UI frame as a template. That's our property frame. It's a replicated storage. We're going to make a new one. Then we're going to say new UI frame parent is going to be our My Stuff frame, that scrolling frame. Cool, so that just attached it to my Stuff frame on the player, on the individual player. It's not going to be on everybody's UI. All right, what else? We got a few things on here. We got this title label, right? Text, and we got to put the title of our property. So I'll just say V, remember that was something in our board map and we have a title for that. That's handy. New UI frame. What else do we need? Oh, background color. Background color. I want the brick color. So I want background color, not background color 3. There we go. And then V dot prop is actually the tile itself, which has a brick color. Cool. So we just colored our little square. So new UI frame. We got a rent label. Yep, rent label. Ooh, and don't forget this text. Right, you get an error. All right, the rent. Cool. Maybe we should say rent. They might not be able to figure that random number out like that. So we'll say We'll put speech quotes here and then do dot dot for a string concatenator. Then we could put a little title here. We'll say rent, colon, and then maybe a money sign there. That'll look cool. That'll be good. All right, new UI frame. What else we got? Number of houses. There it is. Number of houses label, text, and we'll say number houses. String concatenator, dot dot, v, number of houses. We can shrink this a little so you can see that. There we go. Cool. So put these in speech quotes. I put this little pound sign for the number of. All right, what else? What else? What else? New UI frame. We need the mortgage. What do I call that? Mort label. Mort label. Text equals. I guess we should spell out mort. I don't know how to spell mortgage. Mortgage. All right, put a little dollar sign there. Outside the speech quote, we'll do a dot dot v mort. There we go. We got all our numbers. All right, the only thing we're going to do now is every time we buy something, we have to call this to update our UI, right? We have to call that every time we buy something. Let's copy this. Where would we do that? Well, we have this update leaderboard that changes money every turn. That is a good place to put it. All right, let's try it out. Oh, and I am on Game Manager. In the last video, I hard-coded the roll value to be 5. So we could buy railroads, right? So let's just go ahead and put it, we'll comment that out so we don't force a 5, which means we might have to do a few rolls to check out our game. Let's go to output window. I would be very surprised if I didn't make at least one little mistake. Let's see what we got, what we got. Oh, you know what? We got to do the test. We need 2 players. Start. All right, I'll pause the video so you don't have to wait for it to start up. All right, we're all started here. I'll go ahead and do a roll. Hopefully I'll get a property right off the bat. And then we could see errors down here. Oops, let's bring this up. Let's bring that up. Oh, look at that. We got one. Do you want to buy Baltic Avenue for $60? Yes. Cool, our money went down. My stuff, look at that. Baltic Avenue, 0 houses, mortgage 30, rent 4. Oh, that's looking good. Let's do another one. We can close this. There we go. What do we get here? Oh, bummer. Ooh, it gives me money though. I did the money ones for the chance and stuff. Let's do another one. See if we can get another property. Just to make sure it's working. It's looking good. There we go. Do you want to buy Connecticut Avenue for 120? Yes, I do. Boom. So we got. Oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. And it's going to put it in the same order all the time, which is going to make it a little easier to find. All righty. Of course, this window is not going to be so small, right? So you don't have to worry about things getting too junked up. All right, I think that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and save that off. I will see you in the next video.